Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome back to Mindi and the Mic. Today, I'm really excited to share a powerful conversation I had with two incredible guests on this episode, Katrina and Levi. Katrina is a flight paramedic, and Levi works in the fire department as an EMT. Both of them are first responders, and let me tell you, they brought such an honest and insightful perspective to our chat. We dove into what it's like to be on the front lines of emergency situations, how they manage the pressure, the emotional toll that it can take, and most importantly, how they dealt with taking the trauma home after a long shift. For so many of us, it's hard to imagine the weight they carry from their work, and it was super eye-opening to hear how they cope and find balance. As first responders, Katrina and Levi had to witness things that most people don't see in their lifetime. We talked about how they navigate those experiences, not just at work, but at home with their loved ones, and it's not easy. I really can't imagine what it's like to do their job, because in my job, I go and I counsel people from like 9 to 5, then I come home and I have to separate my work from home, but I feel like their job it's a lot harder to do that. Fun fact, Katrina and I have been super close since kindergarten, and so having her on the podcast was just super fun for me since we've known each other for so many years. But I'm very overall grateful that they shared some stories and insights about how to keep those lines and how to manage what it looks like to separate work life from home life. So if you ever wonder what it's like to be in the shoes of a first responder, then you'll enjoy this episode. Listener discretion. We'll be discussing topics related to trauma, emergency situations, and the emotional challenges that come with being a first responder. Some of these stories are quite heavy, so please take care while listening. And if you need to, feel free to skip this episode if you're not in the right headspace. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. I wanted to apologize if you're watching the video of this podcast, mostly because my video camera died during the episode, so parts of it will be cut off, but the audio is still set to go. So I hope you enjoy this episode. I'm Mindi, and I have a microphone. So this must be Mindi and the Mic from Stigma to Connection. Let's have a conversation. Hello. Welcome to Mindi and the Mic from Stigma to Connection. And today I have two incredible guests, Katrina and Levi. Katrina is a dedicated flight paramedic and Levi is an EMT firefighter. Both bring their unique experiences and both willing to come and talk to me about on the podcast today about just their lives and their jobs and how they met too. So my first question is, how'd you guys meet?
Oh God. Well, we originally just met through mutual friends. So I became single and one of our friends was like, hey, this guy is interested. And then, the rest is history.
Levi, what would you say?
Pretty much the same. A buddy of mine was over at my house and he was like, hey, this girl I work with is single. And then I hit her up and went out to dinner. And like she said, rest is history.
Nice. Katrina and I have known each other since we were, at least when I was 5, 6.
Yeah, preschool.
Yeah.
Well, wait, no. Kindergarten? It was definitely kindergarten.
I don't remember, honestly.
I think you started at our school when you were in preschool, but I started in kindergarten. So we went through our entire elementary, middle school, high school all together.
Look at you. You have a really good memory.
Yeah.
I don't.
You have valid reasons in your own, so.
Yeah, car accident. We will talk about that maybe someday later.
Yeah, down the road.
Yeah. But no, Katrina and I have been obviously super duper close too throughout our high school and somewhat college years too, even though we went to different colleges. Fun fact, we only had 5 kids in our class.
Yeah, and one was a boy. Usually when you have like that competition with people, you're like, how many people were in your graduating class? We always win. Like, I've never met anybody that has had less than 5 people.
Most people think we were homeschooled.
Yeah.
Or we were part of a cult.
Yeah. That too.
You kind of were.
No.
But at least I know all of my fellow classmates. Like, how many did you have? You had like 300, 200?
No, I had like 120. I knew all of them too. Not well, but I knew them. I knew their names.
Unfortunately, we knew each other well.
We knew each other too well.
A little too well.
We were like a small town, and no one
Cult.
wanted.
It was like a cult.
Yeah, like I said.
No one wanted to know that much about us. But I have to say, I am really surprised because none of us dated that one boy.
Yeah, that's true.
None of us dated.
That is true. None of us dated each other in general. So
So how did you guys get started in your careers? Because obviously you guys chose like pretty high risk, not boring, not your mundane 9 to 5 gigs where you just sit down and you not listen, but you type on the computer. So what made you want to do your job?
For me, I was in high school, and the town that I went to high school in, the local volunteer fire department, had this high school program. If you were 16 years old, you can get on the high school program and just go to calls, answer calls during school, get out of class. And that was kind of the big reason, was you could just get up and leave class if you got a call. And that's kind of how I got started in it. So I started at 16 years old, and from there, when I graduated, I got into the military and got into the fire department in the military, and it just kind of blossomed from there. From there, I started working in a hospital, and then I was full-time at the local base, and then I got on to the city department, and then here I am.
Yeah, what does a typical day look like for you?
A typical day is, I usually get to work around 7:15, 7:30. The work day starts around 8 o'clock, and then from there we do our cleaning, morning meeting, and then we'll have training in the morning and just kind of plan out our day, and of course answer calls.
Yeah, can you kind of expect when the most calls will come?
Yeah, the busier times, I think on paper around I think it's like 5 to 7:30, I think, are the busy times. Kind of when everyone's getting home from work, but it can be busy at any time too.
Yeah, so it's kind of sounds like it's kind of unexpected.
Yeah.
Almost. Like,
Yeah, of course.
Something could happen like tomorrow, like in the next 5 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, yesterday when I was working, I got to work. I had just enough time to get my gear on the rig, and then got called out right away. And we didn't have a call until, I don't know, probably 8 o'clock that night. And then we were back-to-back calls, and I didn't get to sleep last night until about 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning.
And you're here.
Yeah.
he chose you over sleep.
Oh my.
Yeah.
And then Katrina, how about you? What made you want to become a flight paramedic?
I'm just nosy, honestly. to be honest, when I was in high school and I was trying to figure out what track I wanted to go down, it was like I just wanted to drive an ambulance fast and like legal, right? Because you can't speed. I think it helps too that my dad was a police officer, so I was used to like first responders and stuff like that. That wasn't abnormal. But I just really was like, well, medicine kind of sounds interesting, I guess. But I was like, really, like, I want to drive an ambulance. Let's go, code 3. I'm so nosy when it comes to like car crashes and things like that. And it just so turned out that I fell in love with medicine, and I just love every aspect of it. So I went through your typical EMT and then went straight into paramedic, worked for my city fire department on the ambulance doing 911 calls. It takes at least a minimum of 3 years as a paramedic or as a nurse before you can even apply for flight positions. So I did my 3.5 years, and I needed to change. It was either getting out of EMS altogether, or going to nursing school, or just finding something. I was super burnt out. And so I just stumbled into this application for the flight team in our area, and got lucky that they chose me because it can take people multiple tries to get onto the flight team. It's a very sought after job. So I've got very lucky. I feel very, very, I don't know what the word would be, honored, I feel like, to have gotten into that job so quickly and to work at the base that I do. I really, truly love my job and my coworkers, and I just love my job. But yeah, so that's what my track was.
Did the work intimidate you at all? Because most people, when they go into medicine, they complain about how, this is awfully hard. But you just seem like, I want to see all the car crashes. I just want to see all the blood.
It's intimidating. It's scary. I mean, you really do have like a lot of pressure on you. I became a paramedic before I turned 21, and you have people's lives in your hands. You can't screw up these medications. You have like critical things that you were doing for patients, and I couldn't even drink yet. You know, like it was a lot of pressure. And at the time in the EMS world that we were working in, because we were working on the same department for a while.
That was my next question. Good job, you answered it.
Oh, thank you. I'm a psychic.
That's what you're doing in your spare time.
Yeah, we were working together in the same department there for a while, and a lot of the EMS people working on the ambulances were young 20s. And it was a little worrisome. Like, we would look around at each other and we were like, the city is relying on a bunch of 20-year-olds to take care of them for like EMS 911 calls, you know? Yeah, I don't think too many people died, but you know.
No, I think that like it was weird because sometimes the average age of the responders on the call was like 25 years old.
Yeah, you have no choice though if you're like incapacitated, not conscious. Like, I'm not gonna sit here and choose who's gonna save my life.
I think people were just glad that someone showed up. I guess it's kind of expected there. You know, you have a full-time department, but the area that we're in, we're very fortunate to have the people that we have because they just immerse themselves in the job and like they were good.
Yeah,
we're really good, and we, you know, the city was kind of put into a position. The private ambulance service in that city kind of disbanded, decided to shut their doors. They kind of lost funding, and then the local fire department had to take over. So all the experienced EMTs and paramedics that were at that private service just were like, no, we're done. We're not doing this. We're not going over to the fire department. We're not doing that. And so the fire department was like, hey, we're taking applications, and then a bunch of kids applied, and then it was crazy because you had paramedics that were brand new right out of school, and you get 3 weeks of training with maybe a senior paramedic. I think at that time they had like 3 or 4 paramedics that
had done
like,
the job before.
They had like 10 years experience, and you know they were solid, but a lot of these kids were going out and just figuring it out, and they did well.
How old were you then when you started?
When I started full-time at that department, I was 24, 25.
Oh, wow. So there were people who were younger than you?
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
We definitely all took it very seriously. Like, we knew what we were holding onto and how serious the job was, and we respected that. We weren't just screwing around these young 21-year-old kids. We had trained for it. I mean, we had gone through school. For EMT, it's a semester, but for a paramedic, it's up to 2 years. So, I mean, we were ready to go out there. We didn't have all the experienced people to help guide us through, but we figured it out.
How do you not take that home with you? So I'm a mental health counselor, and I see clients like, 4 or 5 times a day, and then I go home and I have to decompress, but the most we talk and the most I see, I just hear the narrative of their trauma, but I don't see it. But you guys potentially see the trauma that happened in these people's lives.
Oh, we definitely see it.
Yeah.
I mean, we're getting the front row to the trauma. You do take it home, 100%. You don't realize that you take it home. And some of the times it doesn't click in your brain like, oh my gosh, I just saw this super traumatic thing. Because when we're in school, we want the trauma, we want the cool things because that's us using our job that we train for. We're getting to use these skills that we have spent so much time, we're finally helping people because we know it's inevitable. It's going to happen. It's just whether we get to be there to help out. So we definitely take it home, but sometimes it doesn't, like the big calls aren't the ones that click for you. It's the small calls that have finally compiled all these big calls. And you finally have that small call that just flips a switch in you, and you're like, holy crap, I took all of this home. And I didn't even realize it, and I didn't even recognize all the signs in myself that I was building up all of this trauma to this point where I'm now like, I'm burnt out. I'm causing problems in my relationship or in my family. And yeah, there's just so many signs and stuff that you do end up getting.
I do agree with you. I think you do take it home. I don't know. I've thought about this a lot. I don't, because like you said, we spend so much time training and we spend so much time just waiting for that big call. And then when you are at work, you want that big call because you're bored.
Yeah.
Like that's what we train to do. It sounds kind of cynical, like you're just waiting for somebody to have a really bad accident. But I mean, we're not. We're getting an opportunity to use the skills that we went to school for. I think sometimes it's a little bit of the stress of the situation, but I think it's the people or maybe what happens after the call that can affect you or really put that scar on your brain.
Oh, I
You
agree
know?
with that. Yeah.
We go into this and we want to see it. Like that, we get to work.
It sounds terrible, but it's true. I mean, we want to
Yeah.
use our skills.
Yeah.
I had a bad call. One that messed with me for a long time was after that call, the leadership came down on us and they were just asking a bunch of really irrelevant questions, and it felt like they were coming for our job.
We were actually both on that call together.
Yeah.
Just on 2 separate
Were you
ambulances because
dating
we
at
weren't.
this time?
Yeah, we were
Okay.
together. We were living together.
We had started dating before he had gotten on the fire
Okay.
department. Yeah.
Good timeline's good to know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, we were. So we were exempt from rules, I guess, because we were already like living together and stuff.
Yeah.
And then he was like, "Let me join your job."
No professional relationship here. I get it.
Yeah.
Chasing after my coattails.
No, but I really do think it's what happens to you after the call. If you are allowed to, I don't know, process what happened on that call, or kind of debrief to yourself, or even debrief with the individuals that were on the call with you, you know, what happened? Could we do better? Could we do worse? What went right? What went wrong? If the people that you look up to or the people that are supervising you come down on you for no reason, or they come down on you for a reason that they really can't articulate why, that's kind of what I think puts that scar on your brain and really irritates you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely a huge component of it.
Because I think after those calls, you're at a really heightened state. Your adrenaline's up, you're really worked up, and then afterwards you're like, man, I think that went good. And then someone's like, dude, what the fuck were you doing? Why'd you do that?
Mm.
And it's like, oh,
Yeah.
what do you mean why? Like, I followed all of our protocols. I did everything right. We did everything we could do right.
Yeah.
What do you mean? And then I feel like what happens to you after the call is what puts that scar on your brain.
Mm.
Yeah, for sure. I find myself a lot on calls feeling guilty over what I could have done better. And that may not have even needed to happen or whatnot, but I am constantly, because I may be the only paramedic on the rig, so I don't have somebody necessarily to like bounce ideas off of. So it's just on me. And so I constantly on a call, I'm going back and forth on, should I do this? Should I do this? What should I do? What's my protocols? Should I pull the trigger and do these certain meds? Should I not? And you afterwards kind of have to go through a little bit of a guilt too of like, did I actually treat my patient the best?
How do you is it like a brain thing you have to do to like switch the mindset? Like, is there a way that you can get better at your job, just like being more quick or?
Practice. I mean, you learn from your mistakes, 1000%. We all will make mistakes. There's no way that you go through a medical career without a medication error or missing something on a patient. It's just, how do they say that? It's practicing medicine. People don't know it. Even your doctors, they don't know it. They're practicing from what we're being taught, and
And everyone's so different too. That one
Yes.
medication may work for you, and one medication may not work.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, man, that's really high stress too. So how do you two don't take it? Like, how do you two stop from taking it home? Or I guess you say you did take it home, but what do you guys do to like relax then?
I think we have to find hobbies, things that we enjoy, chill, calm things to do. He loves watching movies. I love reading books. Those are both very like low stimulation things to kind of decompress. But then your support is huge. I know, especially for you.
Yeah, when we were in the old house and we were on separate shifts, and we still do it today. We were doing it this morning. When we come home, we sit down, we'll drink our coffee, and we'll just debrief our calls. We just go through our whole day with each other, tell each other about the weird calls or the really nasty calls or whatever.
You guys are psychic. That was my next question.
No, but seriously, we do. We would just debrief anything or just vent about like frustrating things at work. And thankfully, we understand that with each other because I used to work on the fire department with him. And he doesn't work my job, but he understands it's still the medical field. And yeah, it's really a huge thing.
I was
for
going to
us.
say, it's probably really nice married to someone that's similar in the same field, because I don't know what you would do if, like, per se, you married someone not in the medical or the emergency field. Like, if you married, like, a teacher, like, either of you.
That sounds so lame.
I don't know.
I'm glad you're cool.
We definitely understand each other for sure. I think it's important to understand just the job, the culture, and the mindset. The mindset that we both have pretty similar mindsets. And I mean, if one of us is reacting a certain way to a certain situation, we could either be like, okay, well, I understand it, or we're like, get over it. You know, quit sweating the little stuff. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. Are you guys pretty different in how you approach work, or do you think you're pretty similar?
I don't know.
I don't know either.
What do you mean by approach work?
Like, do you think one of you is more high-strung? Do you think one of you is more, like, calm, cool, collected? I guess you have to be calm, cool, collected in your job right now.
I feel like you're ready to, like, go out there and fight, you know? Not, like, necessarily, like, physical violence, but you're like, let's go. And I'm just kind of like, la-da-da-da-da. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Kinda.
You're more
laid back, and I'm more like, let's just do it.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
We both have the same, like, mindsets about work. Like, we both love our jobs, want to go in and do our job. I think maybe we both decompress in different ways, or might take different traumatic scenarios differently, but we also aren't on the same calls.
Yeah.
And each call is completely different. Even if it's the same kind of patient scenario, it's always going to be different. So we both have different ways of dealing with when it gets too much.
Have there been any, like, I don't want to say, like, patients or any calls that you've gotten that have been, like, pretty life impactful, or just, like, changed your perspective about something, or inspired you, or even, like, just shifted your life?
I would say the most impactful call for me was it was a while back. It was a trouble breathing call. Me and my good friend, we had known each other from high school, and we just so happened to go into the same career field. But
wait, this is the guy that set us up.
Yes.
Yeah.
Same dude. So him and I were working together one night, and we get a trouble breathing call at like midnight. And so we go en route, and we could just tell from the dispatcher's voice that it was serious. Sometimes you can get those calls where you can tell by the dispatcher's voice, like, okay, this is bullshit. Like, this is a broken toenail or something, you know. But you could tell by his voice, he was kind of keyed up, and he was right after I put us en route, he's like, medic 3, you're code 3. Like, right away. We're not even out the door yet. And so we're like, okay. And we get going, and then he's like, I'm on the phone with the caller. She's having trouble speaking in between breaths. And so we're like, okay. And then about halfway there, he said, caller just disconnected. I can hear her gasping for air in the background. So we're like, oh, okay. And those calls kind of got me going, because in my mind, there's no worse way to die than not being able to breathe.
Yeah.
Like, to me, that just seems like it would really suck.
Like,
to be honest. So, like, we're beating feet, and we get there, and
I'm barely breathing.
Yeah, we end up booting the door. The part that kind of annoyed me was the cop stole the door kick from me. But when he kicked the door, this lady's dog was on the couch, and the dog must have, like, just been right in front of the door. Once he kicked the door, I just saw the dog go flying across the room. But anyway, so it's the little things that you pick up on.
Those fine details. It's kind of like checkpoint. Okay.
Yeah.
This is
I was like, what was that? And then I see the dog. Like, dog got booted across the room. So we walk in, and this lady's laying down in her recliner, and I'm thinking that we're gonna be coding her. I walk over to her, and then she looks up, and it scared me. I go, oh fuck, and my buddy was like, we coding? And I'm like, dude, she's alive. And he's like, oh, okay. He's like, what do you need? I'm like, just give me a blanket. So we put her on a blanket, get her on the cot, get her in the back of the ambulance, and she's in flash pulmonary edema, which is her lungs are filling up with fluid, and she cannot breathe.
And it goes quick, too.
Yeah. So you're just like...
So you can, like, die in, like, 5 seconds kind of quick?
Not 5 seconds. No,
not 5 seconds, but minutes.
Minutes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not medical. Okay.
So,
without intervention.
I got it.
If You need us to dumb this down, like to regular
Yeah.
regular people stuff. Like just tell us, because you're regular people.
Yeah.
So, you get
Sometimes
it.
I use ChatGPT to be like, explain this to me like I'm in kindergarten.
Literally.
So maybe this is what I'll ask you guys to do.
Yeah.
Explain
fair.
these medical terms like I'm in kindergarten.
We can do that. I am in kindergarten still.
So we get this lady on the cot, get her in the rig, and my buddy. This is the first time he's ever RSI'd anyone.
RSIing is rapid sequence induction. That's when you're intubating somebody, you're taking their airway from them.
You chemically paralyze them
and sedate them, and you put an ET tube into their trachea to breathe on their behalf because they should not be breathing or cannot be breathing.
They cannot protect their own airway, so we are going to take it over for them.
Wow.
So this is his.
So smart right there.
I'm glad that there's people like you out there.
This is his first time ever doing this, and I've been around these before, so I just told my buddy. It sounds cheesy, but it's what happened. So I looked at my buddy. I was like, "You get all your shit set up of what you need to do." I said, "I'll keep her alive in the meantime."
Wow, you hero.
Shut up. So I put a CPAP on her, which you're not really supposed to do in that situation because she's not really breathing. But I just needed something to stay on her face and push air into her.
Yeah.
So do that. We get all of our stuff ready. Buddy gets the line and he gets the tube. It's a nice, easy ride into the hospital, whatever. And so my thoughts and his thoughts on this were like, she's not going to get off this tube. She was kind of an older lady and like, she's not going to make it. That's just kind of the cynical way you look at it is like, it sucks. We did everything we could, but I don't think she's going to live. And then exactly a week later to the day, we get called back to the same address for a diabetic emergency, and it's her. She's up, walking around, talking.
Oh my goodness.
Everything. And I was like, holy shit. I didn't think you were going to live.
Yeah.
And like I talked to her. I wanted to sit there and talk to her in the hospital once we dropped her off, but we couldn't. We had to keep going. But
wow.
Like that was the first time I'd actually seen someone that I thought she was going to be done. And then I see her and I'm like, holy shit, in my mind, you're supposed to be dead right now, but you're not.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's probably just so inspiring too, of knowing that this career is like worth something to live for.
Yeah, it felt good.
Yeah.
That's definitely one thing in the medical world, like 911, whether it was on the ambulance or in the helicopter, but you just don't get follow-ups of your patients. Like you do from time to time, but honestly, you just don't know if your patient survived. You don't know if you don't get any updates.
Yeah, and because you're not exchanging contact information, right?
Yeah, and so there are those chances where you do see those patients again, or you do get a follow-up or whatnot, and you actually get to see if your patient lived or survived. But for the general park, you don't know what your patient does after you hand them off. So in your mind, like for me, I feel like I just assume everybody lives. I'm just like, yeah, there's people that you're like, they're going to die. But I'm just like, in my head, I'm like, yeah, they lived. You can't go and think that you killed everybody or everybody dies.
Yeah,
that's
because
in your
then
care.
You're never going to survive your job or just surviving your own brain, I would say.
I feel like the moment that, like in the question, the moment that like changed me is the complete opposite of his, where I had been flying for a while, but ground ambulance, you get a whole array of critical patients and bullshit patients because people don't know how to use the 911 system, ERs, urgent cares. They don't know how to use stuff the best. But we respond to everything and we take everybody because we don't decline people 911 care.
Yeah.
It's not cool. So you get everything. But then once I went to flight, I was taking mainly critical patients.
Yeah.
And so I wasn't getting those stub toenails anymore. I was getting sick people. And that was really hard. I don't know if it was like a year into it or so, but I had been getting a lot of people that were dying. And just no matter what, but they're sick people. And that's what we do is we transport sick people. And it was just taking a toll on me. And I didn't realize it was taking a toll on me. But there was a flight where it was this nasty trauma. This guy amputated legs from a motorcycle accident. Legs were up in the tree, tourniquets, blood, all the stuff. And I remember transporting him. and being like, wow, I made a difference because this guy needed blood. He was not going to make it to the hospital unless he had the blood products that we could provide, because ground units don't carry blood in this area.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh my gosh, we did something. I feel like I'm finally saving somebody. And come to find out, within the week, he was dead. Just from other stuff going on. But I was like, holy crap. Like, I don't know how that hit me or what exactly that made me feel, but that made me feel
How'd you
shit.
find that out?
Like I said, every now and then you get updates. In the area we work, we have 2 main hospitals, and thankfully we have good communication with them.
Good relationships. I get it.
So on some calls that we take into those hospitals, we can get updates on them. But a bunch of the other hospitals we go to, I will never hear back on those patients unless I know somebody who knew somebody that's like, oh, hey, you transported that patient. He's doing great.
So another question I have is, how does it work with, like, what if you, like, have a call with someone that you guys know? Are you allowed to, like, work those calls? Have you ever had that before?
Have you ever had that?
I have not, but a good friend of mine has. My buddy Nick, his uncle had overdosed and died, and he was on that call. And yeah, you work it, and
there's more emotion at play. I could only imagine. I've never had a family member that I've had to work on, but
yeah. I mean, this dude, he's a professional. You know, he was there to do a job, and honestly, he didn't know who it was to him while he was working the code. He found out after they pronounced him dead on the scene, and then was looking at the name and was like, oh fuck. He's like, that's my uncle. Like,
it is really crazy. People do not look like themselves when they are unconscious.
Yeah.
Like, alive, you look the same way, but if you were to be unconscious and I were to work you or whatnot, you probably would not be recognizable. They just look so much different than if they were alive and had their eyes open and had personality and life to them. So I can understand not recognizing.
Yeah. I mean, this is just a meat vessel, is all it is, you know.
Yeah.
What makes you is what's inside. It's your soul. And I feel like when you die or you're getting ready to go, that part of you leaves, and it's no longer you. You're not there anymore.
Yeah.
It's just this.
Katrina, like, it's amazing because as I'm sitting here, as you talk about, like, just the personal relationships, to give some context, like, I myself was in a really bad car accident where I got T-boned by a semi truck on the interstate going 75 miles per hour. And I was life flighted. I think that's what it's called.
Life flighted, yeah.
Please explain to me medical terms. But I was life flighted to the nearest city because where I was at was by a small town that was about 50 minutes away from the nearest bigger city. And I was in the hospital for 6 weeks, and I had my jaw was broken, so my mouth was wired shut. I had the trach, and I still have the trach scar on my throat. And I had a punctured lung, I had broken ribs, I had a brain bleed, just so they didn't know. I obviously didn't know what was going on because I was in the ICU for 2 weeks or a week, and they had me in a medical induced coma. I think I'm doing well with the medical
you're doing
terminology.
Great.
But no, I know for sure that Katrina, I do photography on the side, and I was supposed to take pictures of you two, right?
Yeah, it was both of us that you're supposed to take pictures of the day after.
Okay.
Yeah.
I remember waking up that morning and my mom being like, Mindy got into a car accident because your mom had posted on Facebook about it. And I think we came up to the hospital right away so that we could kind of support your mom, see you. And I remember walking into the ICU suite and instantly being like, this is not Mindy. Mm-hmm. Like, you are such a bubbly, happy, friendly, talkative, goofy. Like, that is the person that I've grown up with, loved. You're such a close friend of mine. And then walking in and seeing you intubated and sedated and just in that coma. And I was like, this is not right. This is not Mindy. This doesn't feel like Mindy. And that was crazy.
Yeah.
And it was crazy, too, because all of our friends from high school and from that time period were, asking about you and wanted to know about you because everybody cares about you. And it was hard because I knew how serious it was, and from just working in medicine, and it was hard because I had to tell people, like, no, this is serious.
Yeah.
And, like, they would come to me and ask about it. And I'm like, God, this is so hard.
Yeah.
I am so glad you were here today.
Yay.
But that was scary.
Yeah, trust me. I don't really remember it. Context there is that people say that I was looking at my GPS and turning to the interstate so I can get to another side road to go to the small town. But yeah, I just don't remember it ever happening. I just remember waking up in the hospital with my mouth wired shut, and I was like, this is a bad dream. And I think I remember texting you, and I don't know if we talked about photography at all.
Yeah, you would revert back to, like, your main things. Like, you would ask about friends, or you would ask about, because you couldn't talk, you had your mouth wired shut.
As one does.
You were writing on a notepad, and I remember you just asking things like, can this person come and braid my hair? Or you were like, you could remember a party that was coming up. Abby's party was coming up or something, and you were asking about it. Like, are we going to that? Or did you go to that? And so you could remember things, but you were very, very confused about, like, what was happening currently.
I remember specifically that a gal got drunk at this party, and I remember asking that question at least 10 times.
You would reiterate. Yeah. I don't remember who got drunk, but that sounds pretty funny.
Yeah, but yeah, I'm alive. I'm here.
I'm glad you are.
Good, me too. And I'm glad that there's people like you out there. What advice would you give people who are in the professional medical fields like you guys are, whether they're married or maybe they're on their own?
Have a support group. Have friends that understand what you are doing. That's huge.
Are most of your friend group like in the force with you, would you say?
Quite a few.
Yeah.
There's a lot of our friends that are police, fire, EMS, some sort of first responder, military.
Some sort of public service. And the biggest thing I would say is be able to communicate and be able to say the tough things and have the tough conversations. And when you do have the tough conversations, shit can your ego, because understand that you are part of the problem in the situation, and be able to communicate, and then stay faithful to each other. I feel like in this job and in this profession, the divorce rates are high in this profession.
Yeah.
It seems like everyone we know is on their second or third marriage, or they're just single for life. I think as long as you can stay faithful, you can have tough conversations, and you're able to shit can your ego, you can work through just about anything.
Why is that? Why are so many people getting a divorce or breaking up? Or
I think part of it is we spend a third of our life at a fire station, and I think a lot of people will find kinships with other people in hospitals or co-workers, and you develop relationships, and sometimes those relationships can get inappropriate.
Yeah.
So, and then I think some of it is also self-destructive behavior. A lot of people don't deal with what's going on in their head.
Yeah. And
they will drink, and when people drink, they turn into a different person. Some people do, and they will tend to do things that they shouldn't.
Yeah. Wow. That's really good advice, though. What misconceptions do people have about your job? Like myths or like stereotypes?
That we get paid good.
Yeah. I get paid pretty well for what I do. I say I get paid pretty fair. She is way underpaid for what she does. Extremely underpaid for what she does. I don't think a lot of people know that helicopters they shouldn't fly. They literally beat the piss out of the air, and then they somehow lift up. Like, helicopters do fall out of the sky. That is not uncommon.
That is not true. They don't just fall out of the sky.
That's how
Katrina
that's how Kobe Bryant died.
Yeah.
Okay, no,
helicopters are not safe air travel.
Didn't fall out of the sky. That is not what happened. I'm not a pilot, but I know that there were things that we trained for that were a reason why helicopters crash.
Okay.
Which we do train for.
I guess what I'm getting at is $50,000 a year to fly in a helicopter that could potentially fall out of the sky. I mean, your service, your company has had how many aircraft go down in the last 2 years? 3 or 4?
Oh, I did not know that.
We had one. I don't know if it was in our company, but there was a recent helicopter crash in Kentucky, and they hit a guide wire on a big. At least the report has not come out officially, but that is what was suspected, was on one of those big light towers, the guide wires that come down, and they had hit that, and they had crashed and all died. It took me a long time. I was really having a big struggle with this at the beginning of my career of understanding, and each job is different. Like on EMS, I would be worried that I would get hurt by a patient. There's always the potential. Anybody can hurt you. And I'm a small gal, so anybody could try and attack me. Like, that's just what it is. But I knew that I had guys that had my back when I was on EMS, because whenever we would respond, we weren't responding by one. It was at least two of us if there was the ambulance, and until the engine or the fire truck shows up, and there's another 3 to 4 guys. Like, I knew that I had people, and they had my back. And then PD. You have PD too that will respond if they know. I mean, you've had instances like that on EMS, but I never had to worry about that, although it scared me. Being in a helicopter, though, I feel like, get through this mindset that I'm not going to die every time I come into the aircraft and start on a flight, because that would go through my head until I kind of processed it with my therapist. Was like, I would constantly think, is this the flight that I die on? Is this the flight that I'm going to die on? And I think you get used to flying too. So you get used to the turbulence, you get used to stuff, and it's not as scary, and you go through a lot of training. But I mean, it is high stakes, and you hit a guide wire and you're down, and you're donezo,
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. What's the best part about your job?
you have 3 legs of your flight. One flight has a patient on board. The other 2, you just get to fly in a helicopter for free, or you get paid to. It's also really fun getting paid to sleep when you do get to sleep, or to watch Netflix. But there's a lot of...
Or you get the text. Sometimes you text me when you're at work, and I'm like, is this legal?
Well, yeah, because I'm not on a flight the entire time. You texted me that last night, and I was like, yeah, I'm allowed to have my phone.
True.
It's not prison, Mindy.
I wasn't on a flight when I was texting you. I was in my bed.
I'm pretty sure they can have phones in prison now, too.
I'm just thinking about, like, texting and driving, And I'm like, if I don't think you're driving the helicopter or flying, you're not driving the helicopter, flying the helicopter and texting.
No, I'm not. Although we are supposed to, because we're one of the crew members. Mm-hmm. We're not supposed to be on our phone, and we all at our base really care about safety. So we're not on our phones texting and doing stuff, because we are looking out for the dangers, other aircraft, other things, whatnot. So
yeah. How about you, Levi? What's the best part of your work?
I got to go into work, and I mean, it's not work. It's not really a job. I can honestly say that when I go to work, I'm not going to work. I got to go and hang out with a bunch of dudes, talk about
dudes doing dude stuff.
Talk about dudes doing dude shit, and then run some cool calls, kick doors down. We have a pretty good time. It's not boring. Although yesterday I was kind of getting a little stir crazy. But you go to work, you can get paid to work out. At night, you sit around, hang out, watch movies. Wasn't really the case last night. And you hang out with your friends all day long.
It is a lot of fun. I do agree. It's great having a job where you don't feel like you're working. I genuinely do love my job in that aspect.
Yeah.
And it's different every single day. Every single day, every flight is different. Every call is different. Schedule is different. It's always different. You're not doing the same thing every day. Some aspects are, but,
Yeah, man, it's crazy where we came from high school, isn't it?
Oh my God, I know. Thankfully, we didn't even know you in high school. That would have been scary.
Yeah, I wasn't a good person.
I don't even know what we were doing in high school. All I remember about high school is that I would always go to your house and your family would be up to something. Like, I remember one time your brother just threw a pancake at your mom's face. And then another time, you, threw eggs at your mom.
I did crack an egg on my mom's head at one
point.
You were there for that.
I was, yeah.
Mindy had her own cheese drawer in our family refrigerator.
I did.
Yeah.
I still do, probably.
Yeah, I mean, it's free reign when Mindy comes to town.
Shout out to Melissa. I think she probably still has cheese for me. I could probably literally walk into your mother's house and be like, hi.
She'll be like,
I
here's
miss
the cheese drawer.
Here, where's your cheese?
Yeah, she will. And it's that running joke. But yeah.
Yeah, and then yeah, going to a small school. That could be a whole nother podcast episode.
Oh my gosh, I know.
About how I personally would not recommend it. But
Oh, really?
I didn't like going to a small school. I don't know if you did.
I did. There were things that I wish were different, but I did like that. And I think we've even talked about wanting to send our future kids to that school.
Are you
Yeah.
expecting?
No.
Okay.
No, I'm not. Just in
Okay.
general. Manifesting some little koch goblins.
Surprise.
This is how you
Right.
announce it. Mindy on the mic.
Mindy on the mic. Stigma to
Katrina's pregnancy.
Stigma to pregnancy announcement.
Shout out though, you're not pregnant.
No, I am not pregnant. Sorry for the jump scare, folks.
Yeah, she's not pregnant.
Shut up.
They'll never know.
Mwahaha. Are we?
We'll check back in a year.
In 9 months.
9 months a year. Explain that to me. No, just don't explain that to me.
Do you need the kindergarten medical
No,
terms?
we never had sex ed at our school.
We didn't. That is one thing at our school was that we did not have sex ed. And I feel like because it was a private school, they don't have to do that. I don't know if that's a thing that has to be done in public school. Did you have that in a
Did
public
you
school?
go to public school? I'm assuming you did go to public school.
Yes, I did go to public school, and yes, we did have sex ed.
I remember having a sit down in the auditorium where we had like Bible class or chapel, and one of the teachers was giving us a purity talk. There was no sex ed, it was more wait for marriage, and that was basically it. So
Our school was so funny though, because like, not to make this about me, but to make it about me, I was only like one of the only colored kids in the school, and there was only like 5 of us.
yeah.
So people knew me. Because they
well,
were like,
everybody knew everybody.
yeah.
To be
Wait,
fair.
you're not white?
No.
But your mom's white.
That is true. That's just a.
Yeah, so you're 50-50 mix.
But my dad's white too. So that if you do the
What's going
math.
on here?
She's white.
You're adopted. Are you
You
adopted?
didn't know that? She was adopted from China.
Boom.
She's got a China sticker on her.
Not
Made
like a
in
no,
China.
No,
They
that would be
did they
a
like tattoo a barcode on
Are
you
you
or what?
actually going to get that tattoo done?
No. Did I tell you I was?
I felt like you did at one point
I
in
probably
time.
did at one time, knowing me.
Yeah. I still think it'd be a cool tattoo.
Yeah, but no, I say that I'm Swedish because my last name actually is Swedish. But then when people look at me, although there's so many people who get really confused by my race, I don't know why we're talking about this now, but like Chinese people will come up to me and be like, "You don't look Chinese." And I'm like, "What do I look like then?" And they're like, "Thailand." And they say it in a very like not condescending way, but very confident way of like,
you
"You're
don't
not-
look Chinese.
You're not one of us." And I'm like, I don't know how to take that because obviously I don't look Caucasian. If I don't look Chinese, then what am I?
I'm like, I don't know. What are you?
Yeah.
What does your bloodline paperwork say?
I did a DNA test. It
Yeah.
said 99% Chinese.
Fuck the haters.
And then like 1% Native American.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I can see it.
What?
That's really funny, actually.
Yeah. Where are you guys? Dutch?
Wait.
Hogan?
I'll carry this podcast from here. So I think I've never done a DNA test, but I think I'm Swedish, German, and maybe a little dash of Irish.
I can
Smidge.
see it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm Dutch, German, and Heinz 57, as my mom would say. I don't know. She says, it's a mix. I don't know,
I
American.
mean, we're all mutts.
Yeah, we are. My grandpa was from Holland. My grandma was German, although she didn't come from Germany. Although she also said that she was, what are those? She was a gypsy. She would tell us she was a gypsy. I was like, Grandma, you were definitely not a gypsy. Maybe she was.
She could have been.
She could have been. We may never know.
She's dead now.
Jeez. Jeez. On that note,
Weirdo.
So I can't ask her if she's a gypsy or not, but I feel like she said that. I'll have to ask my dad.
Do you think your dad being a police officer really like pushed you to want to go into a high risk field like this?
I always knew I didn't want to be a police officer.
No,
because my dad would always like set us up to like kind of understand that field, and he would always kind of put this thing in your head like, okay, you're going down into a dark basement and you have your gun and you have a flashlight.
Sounds like
are
mafia.
you going into the basement? Or are you scared? And I'm fucking scared of basements. Like, I have seen these demon movies. That's one of my big fears. A demon chasing me up the stairs. No, but seriously, I don't think I could be one of those people running in to like chase down the unknown kind of thing.
Yeah.
I run in for medical care, but not to like shoot at somebody or have somebody potentially shoot at me. Like, so that was always the thing where I was like, I have no interest in this. I don't want that.
Yeah, yeah.
But it set me up for, I was already used to first responder lifestyle. I mean, growing up, Christmas was never Christmas. It was always whenever my dad had off shift around the time. And that's the same for us right now too, both working in this field and with my dad still as a police officer. Christmas is whenever all of us are off shift and everybody's free.
That makes sense.
But that was just normal. And it was normal for him to always show up to like school musicals or things like that. Or, you know, every year when we had to do like the singing things, band, I don't know, shit like that.
Choir.
Choir. But he would always come on his dinner break and stand in the back of the auditorium in his uniform. And that's just what I'm used to, is him showing up, but always being on duty.
Oh, consistent though.
I remember when we were walking for homecoming royalty, my dad was in his uniform and walked me in on his dinner break. And then you got Queen. And not going to lie, I was a little upset about that. I really wanted Queen, but I do love you, so I'll let it slide.
I was not prepared for being Queen because I was in my basketball uniform. I was sweaty, and I don't even know why they chose me.
Because you're cool.
But maybe because I was the good kid in high school.
You were the good kid.
I was.
It's because they knew you were going to start a podcast.
But, okay, the real question, though, with having a dad as a police officer, did you get out of speeding tickets?
Oh, my God, so many. So many. I was coming home from an EMS clinical one time, like when I was in school to do either my EMT or paramedic. And there's this bridge where the speed limit goes up when you're on the bridge, and it goes right back down when you come off of it, the viaduct. I was going 20 over, and the guy pulls me over. It's like midnight, right? Because I just got off shift. And he is like, do you know how fast you were going? And I was like, no. And he didn't even tell me how fast I was going. He was like, well, slow down, because you hand him your license and he sees my dad's last name. And so I know the phone call is coming. So instantly I go home, and not midnight, the next day. I'm like, Dad, so I got pulled over last night. I don't know how fast I was going. And he goes, you were going 20 over. And I said, well, I got out of the ticket. So thank you, last name, Dad.
Thanks, Dad.
Thanks, Dad.
Does that transfer over to you now?
No.
No, because yeah.
It would if you took my last name.
I have gotten out of speeding tickets before, but it was only because I was either in uniform going to shift or coming off of shift.
Okay. So there's grace.
Yeah, but there were some dickhead cops that decided to send an email to the chief, and
That was about you?
I don't think it was me. I think it was other people.
I think I was in one of the things, though, because it was like literally the morning that I got pulled over, or the morning after. I remember reading Chief's update and being like, yeah, I totally got pulled over. I totally got pulled over.
Whatever.
And he let me go.
And now we're here.
It's not like we had drugs in the vehicle.
I can tell you're not over it. You want to talk about it?
No.
You get it off your chest. We got a trained professional here.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you some rapid fire questions. Are you guys prepared?
Oh, yeah. Let's go.
Hit it.
3, 2, 1.
Where is the most craziest place that you visited? Or what was?
Haleakala on Maui, the island. I cried. It's like a national park. It's beautiful. We watched
It is stunning.
sunrise. We watched sunset. I cried both times.
How many animals do you guys have?
In the house or out of the house?
Or that we own, or that we
All the
have on the
above.
property.
All the above. I'm assuming you don't live in the city.
5 horses, 1 mini donkey, 17 or 18 chickens, 2 cats currently because one just showed up today,
Today?
and then 4 dogs.
Yeah. Thanks to the girl that watches our dogs.
She was like, you have a cat. And I'm like, stop it.
Is it
And he
cute,
won't
though?
leave. He's so cute, so nice. Okay, rapid fire, go.
What was the last date you went on? I know you guys are married, but like out, not in the house date.
Tonight.
Yeah, we'll go out to eat after this.
Yeah.
No, the other night, okay, this was super cute. So I was having a crappy day. I don't know why. And Levi could tell.
Oh, yeah.
Well, anyway, he goes out to do errands and stuff. And I'm hangry, obviously. And so he goes and he gets food and he comes home and I'm like doing chicken stuff in the house. And he's like, don't look. I know he brought food. So then he's like setting up stuff behind us on the dining room table. He had lit all these candles and he had gotten food from one of our favorite Italian restaurants. And he goes, well, I wanted to remind you of our wedding day.
Oh.
Don't think he's that great. This doesn't happen very often, but that was so sweet. I really loved
These
it.
kind of things only happen about once a year, so
Thank you for that 1 year.
don't get used to it.
I'm not.
And then who's the last person that you called?
Your dad.
Yeah.
On the drive up here.
Yep.
Down here.
For fun? Just say hello? Shout out? Or
Levi goes,
No, I don't remember why I was going to call him.
But he told him that we were going to become
called
famous for being on a podcast.
Yeah. I called him and he didn't answer, and then he called me back and I couldn't remember why I called him.
nice. Thank you so much for being on the podcast. I do appreciate it, and I wish you guys all the best too in your careers.
Thank you.
Thank you.